Good morning. Say I'm still getting used to this headset. I've only worn lapel mics my entire life, so I told them I feel like Garth Brooks with this thing on. So, thank you all for having me this morning. I want to start off. I'm with the Gospel Broadcasting Network. Has anyone ever heard a GBN presentation before or learned about the work? Okay. Some of the things I'm going to cover may be things that you've heard before. A lot of it, I'm going to focus on a lot of the new things that we're doing at GBN. I want to start off on the back table. There's quite a few things back there. There's a lot of free DVDs on different Bible topics. If anyone has a DVD player still, I still have one. But we also have all those videos online. So we work a lot with World Video Bible School. Don Blackwell is the executive director at GBN and also on the board at WVBS. So we have a lot of videos back there. We also have a couple handouts. This is one of our newsletters, so it just kind of chronicles some of the work that's been going on. And then this is a sheet we have that just shows a couple of the people this past year that have been converted through the work. I'll show you quite a few people as we go through the presentation that have been converted in the last year through the work that you all have been doing with GBN. See, you all here have been supporting GBN for a long time. I've only worked with GBN since last July. And so when I came to GBN, I had actually used GBN as a resource for many years to learn. I never went to preaching school. I just read my Bible a lot and listened to sermons all on my iPhone, on the internet. And I worked for 10 years in the biotech industry, and when I traveled, I just listened to GBN and World Video Bible School. So you all supporting GBN is the reason it existed, and it's one of the ways I learned. So for the last year and a half, it's been a privilege to get to go around the congregations and say thank you for supporting GBN, because that's one of the ways that I personally learned. So you all have been working with GBN longer than I have. So I want to show you some of the work that we've been doing in the last couple years. So the Great Commission, obviously, we know what the Great Commission is: to go into the whole world, preach the gospel to all nations, to every creature, okay? And today I want to split the presentation up into kind of two categories. The first one is edification. You know the word edifice, a building. So we want to edify the brotherhood, teach members of the church, like I learned from GBN, so that they can become better equipped to go out and to make disciples themselves. And then also to the second half is to evangelize, so we can take the gospel to the rest of the world. So I want to show you the first section of that, which is edification, how GBN does that. So we have about 30 programs that we produce at GBN. It's one building. We got it. It was under foreclosure. I think the building was appraised at $800,000, and we got it for $300,000. So good stewardship there before I got there with getting that building and converting it into a studio. And so we almost every day are either recording new programming or editing programming that we filmed the week before. And so we have lots of different programs on about any topic that you can think of. We also travel and do a lot of live events, live debates, GBN Live. It's on Facebook. I'm sure some of you have seen that. That bottom left is Kyle Butt debating Bart Ehrman, and that was from PTP. So we basically try to go any event that we think that the brotherhood would benefit from, but they can't be there in person, especially if you have a full-time job or that sort of thing. We try to go and film that. We have a daily devotional, GBN Lift. We've given away about 61,000 CDs and DVDs over the last about 5 years. A lot of Bible correspondence courses. That number is going to be going up because some of the work that we're doing on Instagram, if you've never heard of Instagram, it's okay, don't worry. But I did a video on Instagram and offered a free Bible study online. Okay, I don't use the word Bible correspondence courses because we in the room know what it is, but most people in the world don't know what the BCC is. First time I heard BCC, I thought someone was trying to blind carbon copy me on an email. I didn't know what a Bible correspondence course was. But I did a video on Instagram and said, pretend this is a Bible correspondence course. We'll send you a free Bible study to your house if you just send us your address and your name. And we had 81 people respond in one day. So the internet is ripe with people looking to study the Bible in an age where really there's not that much interest from a lot of people. There are still those people out there that want to study. We've just started in the last couple of years a project to make a video commentary series, all right? I don't know if anyone here likes to read books. I love to read. I didn't growing up, but whenever in school it would have been beneficial when I didn't want to read, and now it's all I want to do. So I love reading books, but some people would rather watch a video or listen to audio. And so we've begun to do that. This is Brother Mosier from the Memphis School of Preaching. He's done Romans for us and Luke. We have Gary Hampton, who used to be the director of the East Tennessee School of Preaching, and he's done 1st and 2nd Corinthians, I think Acts, Genesis. And so I think we have about 17 full book Bible studies already that you can watch for home devotionals. We have a channel on Apple TV, Roku. We have a website. I'm kind of moving through all this because we got a lot of stuff to cover, and this is probably the stuff, if you know anything about GBN, you probably already know about this. Okay, let's get to the evangelism side of it. Broadcasting. So we have 2 programs that we put out through the support of congregations like yourself that allows us to have the funding to put this out to try to reach people all across the U.S. is where we'll start. So this is Preaching the Gospel. Everybody familiar with this show? James Watkins did it for years. Okay, the funny story here I always like to tell about James Watkins is the first time I ever saw him preach, I saw him start his lesson, and he pulled out a pocket New Testament. You can see it in his hand that's about as big as my cell phone. And I thought, how in the world is that guy going to read it? Well, if you know James Watkins, what does he not do? He doesn't read anything. He's got it all memorized. And he quoted, I think every lesson I've ever seen him do was completely from memory. All right, so that was my first memory of him, was seeing his program. And now Cliff Goodwin has taken over that. So we put that out from GBN with a partnership with congregations like yourselves. Dish Network and DirecTV, about 40 million homes in the U.S. We also do Counterpoint. Preaching the Gospel is more of a direct address to the camera. Some people like that. Others kind of like the fly on the wall sort of setting that you get with Counterpoint. So Mike Hickson and B.J. Clark will do the program, and Mike will say, B.J., some people say that, to become a Christian, you just have to accept Jesus into your heart. What does the Bible say about that? And then that's the point, and BJ will give the counterpoint. Well, the Scriptures actually teach, etc. We also do GBN Live on Facebook. We always encourage people to share it, mainly because the people that, if I share it on my profile, I'm going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of people from my previous life, upbringing, that I'm friends with on Facebook that aren't members of the church. So the goal is to try to reach them with that content as well. We also reach into other countries around the world. All right. Now, technically, with the internet, we could say, well, we reach into every country in the world that has the internet, and that's true. But we have focused push of content into certain countries. So South Africa, also Nigeria. This is Nigeria. Okay. This is Ghana. It's really interesting. Nigeria, right around here, is Lagos. It's a gigantic metropolis. It's one of the top 3 cities on our online content that we have followers from because how big that area is, okay? Even though there's a lot of Muslim persecution in that area, Boko Haram is really dangerous in Nigeria. There's still a lot of members of the church. We have a couple preaching schools there through Bear Valley, and so it's a really ripe area for the gospel. So we put programming out there. We also have reach into India through Delight TV. So over in India, we have lots of programming there as well. I don't know if you can see that. Can you guys see what that is? That's a satellite dish, okay? This was taken by Don in the bush in India. I've seen similar things. I've done mission work in Central America, Honduras, and also in East Africa. And I can tell you that is what it's like. You can go into the middle of nowhere, the backwoods, as far away as you can get away from civilization, no electricity, no running water. But you know what they have now? They have cell phones. I have guys messaging me from the middle of Africa every day on Facebook Messenger saying hello, where they don't even have electricity in their houses. So with the internet, we're able to reach people really in any place in the world. There's nobody that could really say anymore that we can't reach them, okay? But you can see that we can even reach people with satellite. Social media and just the internet in general, smartphones are allowing us to reach even more people than we could before with satellite. This is just one more. And there you have a satellite dish in the middle of nowhere. We have about 3,000 videos on YouTube. We're always uploading that. I think we put out maybe, 700 or 800 videos in the past year, uploading them to YouTube. So YouTube is one of the most popular places that people consume online content now. So YouTube is approaching, I don't know how many more years it'll be till it actually surpasses TV, the number of people that actually watch content. So the way we're getting information out there has been changing a lot. We also have an iPhone app, okay? The first 24 hours we released it was downloaded in about 50 countries. I think it's 111 countries it's been downloaded in now. And so we have many different things on there. I think I have some shots of it. Yeah, so if you were to open the app, this is what it looks like, screenshots from my iPhone. This is my favorite part because you tap on books of the Bible, and these are all of the verse-by-verse studies that we have all the way through. So maybe if you're a member of the church and you want to be edified, let's say you have to teach a Bible class, and you're terrified to teach a Bible class, because I've been there, and so you can go on here, pick one of these books, study it on your own, and then reteach what you learn on here. So this is a new program that Don and I have been doing called Answer in the Air. Has anybody seen that? Okay, well, basically what we do is we had a member of the youth group that brought a video to us, and it was on why you don't have to be baptized to be saved. That's what the video he brought to us was. And he said, hey, can you guys look this over because this is kind of bothering me. And so me and Don watched the video and said, well, these are the basic, just simple arguments that we've heard for years. And so I said, Don, why don't we do a show where we show their video, show the denominational group's video, and then just answer what they say and let them make their own arguments. Because we have a tendency sometimes when we make their arguments that we make it a whole lot poorer than they do. And then whenever our youth hear it in real life, they're confused about it. So what we do in this program is we sit there and we play the video, and then we'll stop it and say, okay, he just quoted this verse that's out of context, or this is what that passage means, or we need to complete the story, those sorts of things. So we've done, the first 2 episodes were on why you don't need to be baptized to be saved. Of course, we're refuting that. And once saved, always saved. And we're, of course, refuting that as well. We just recorded 2 more. One is on infant baptism and confessing your sins to a priest. So those were videos that were sent to us by viewers, and they said, can you guys review these shows? This is Tucker Wallace. Tucker is one of the camera guys at GBN. Tucker grew up in Milan, Tennessee. He was a member of the Baptist church, and so he grew up, and at a certain point in time in his life, he started looking for the things he was taught. He read about the Bereans and how they searched the Scriptures diligently to see if the things that they were being taught were true. They were being taught by the Apostle Paul, and so he thought, well, if God called these people through inspiration noble for checking out what the Apostle Paul taught, then it would be okay for him to check out what he was taught. So he started studying, started looking for denominations in the Bible, started looking to see what does the Bible say about the sinner's prayer? Where is it? And he couldn't find it. And so he obeyed the gospel. Well, he's really talented with video, so he basically filmed and shot his whole own story in a movie form. So it's pretty much like Muscle and a Shovel if that was turned into a movie. And Tucker did it all himself in his spare time. He's incredible. We made him promise, Don and I made him promise he wouldn't leave GBN as soon as we saw this. We're like, you can't leave GBN. So he agreed. So it's final now. This is something that we started in April this year. This is Philadelphia, okay? This is Atlantic City, New Jersey. We had an opportunity to take over a TV satellite tower, at least one of 5 stations that tower sends out. And so we have a 24-hour broadcast right now going from here all the way up into, this is the whole state of New Jersey, and there's about 6 million people in Philadelphia. So we're able to reach all these people with GBN. Believe it or not, you may look at this and think that's incredible. We've also been doing some testing with targeted marketing on Facebook, and having a 24-hour-a-day signal all around here compared with targeted marketing on Facebook, we're actually getting as many, if not more, results from Facebook targeted marketing. Facebook is creepy if you don't know that, all right? Facebook, I can go on Facebook right now, and I could do a short video about we're offering a free Bible study here at the Church of Christ here. I could then target it to everybody within a 10-mile circle of this building's location, and I could have it only sent to people who are members of, who on their Facebook page like the Baptist Church or like Bible study or like Christianity or faith. I can focus on that specific group of people. So it's something that's really beneficial to use. If anybody's interested in that, talk to me later. I can show you some more about that. Okay, so Instagram. Anyone know what Instagram is? A few people? Okay. First of all, if you're not on Instagram, you don't have to download it and start doing it today, okay? So I did this at one place, and the woman came up to me, and she said, does this mean I have to get Instagram? No, it doesn't mean you have to get Instagram, okay? There are lots of good brethren who are doing a lot of work on Facebook. I try to stay away from Facebook, not because it's not a great avenue, but because a lot of people are already doing work there. I didn't know anybody doing anything on Instagram, and so in 2015, my wife and I started basically trying to make an effort to do things on Instagram. And I do all the teaching. She just supports me, and we had to use some of our savings to get some of the account and promote posts and stuff like that. But what this does is it allows us right now, this I would say digital missionary, okay? The reason I say that is because I'll show you a list of countries here in a minute. There are a lot of countries I can reach people through my phone that if I went in person, I would not last long there. Heavily Muslim countries. I'll wait to show you a list here in a second. So Instagram started in about 2008 or 9, and by 2018, June actually, there's 1 billion users. There's 7.7, and the number's growing, billion people in the world. So 1 out of every 7 people is on Instagram, all right? It's definitely focused on a younger generation, 14 to 45 or 50. And so it takes these two ideas. It's got a picture. If you have Facebook, it's as if you posted a photo on Facebook and it has a little bit of text under it, all right? So that's really, it's based off of photos with text under it. This is what I used Instagram for years, okay? If any of you have Instagram, you probably know what this is. When my wife and I would go out to eat, I knew that I don't touch my food until guess who gets a picture of it? My wife. You don't touch your food because she's got to get a picture to post online. And that's what I used Instagram for years. And then I started realizing that there were a lot of people on there that were using it to teach false doctrine. There was a lot of people who, it used to be with false doctrine that you had to, what? You had to hear it preached, then you had to learn it, and then you had to go and preach it again, right? Then you got to the point where you could copy and paste it. Now, these kids on Instagram will see a post about the sinner's prayer, and they'll hit 2 buttons on their phone, they'll screenshot it, they'll repost it. And so there is so much false doctrine on Instagram that it's ridiculous. And so I said, why am I not using this for God's purposes? So we basically started, my wife and I, trying to send out muscle and a shovel to people all over. Some of these Instagram accounts have hundreds of thousands of followers, and they teach false doctrine. And so I would message them and say, hey, look, would you let me send you a free book? Like, please, I'll send it to you. Just give me your address. So we sent out muscle and a shovel to all kinds of people. Not very many people really listened. I don't think anyone ever actually read the book that I sent it to. And so one day a guy came along, and I saw he had a post that said he was selling one of his accounts. It was too much work, and he couldn't keep up with it anymore. As a denominational guy. And so I said, well, I'll buy it off of you. So I bought it off of him. In 2015, we deleted everything he had on there that was bad and started uploading the truth. So when they had a passage that was, maybe a psalm, there was nothing doctrinally wrong with it, I left that. But when he had one about the sinner's prayer, I deleted that one and posted something about the plan of salvation. You'll see some of the posts. And so over the next couple years, this same guy had multiple accounts. And so he sold, the first one to me had about 15,000 followers, which was pretty big for me at the time. And then he sold this one, which is a female-based page. We have a couple female members of the church that develop the posts, and then I oversee it, and will answer questions and delete stuff if I have to, whatever, but I don't really run into that anymore. And then in 2018, this page came up for sale, and so my wife and I had bought the first 2, but we were out of money. And so I knew Don Blackwell. I went to Don and said, Don, this is the work we've been doing. He already knew about what we were doing. And he said, well, look, GBN will purchase this page, but you have to come and work for GBN and run it because it's a lot of work. And so I left the biotech field that I've been in for 10 years and went to GBN last July. So I haven't been a preacher for 10, 15 years. I think people meet me now and they think, oh, well, he's a preacher. That's why, he always has been a preacher. No, I haven't. For the last, year and a half, have been thrust into something I didn't really feel like I was prepared for, but I said, well, I'm just going to do it, and the Lord's blessed it. So this is what I do now as a majority of the work that I do at GBN, okay? So this is an example. You can see how many people these page. This is 249,000 people. It's kind of odd. It seems like as soon as you preach the truth, people leave. I don't know if you've read your New Testament. But this, I don't know how many followers this has now. Maybe it's less than this. I don't know if it's 210 or 220. And then this one, I think, is from 340, it's down to 310. So 30,000 people have stopped following in the course of about the last year and a half. I mean, we're posting about, against homosexuality. Instagram actually removed one of our posts, and Don posted it the next day, and I thought our account was going to get suspended, but it didn't. So we're preaching the truth, trying to reach all these people. I have said that if we preach the truth to well, let's see, 200 and with the other one's 15, so 600,000 people, and every single one of them unfollows us, I'll be happy with it, because at least we preach the truth to 600,000 people, okay? But that's not really what happens. We've had a lot of conversions through this, and I'll show you some examples of that here in a second. So you can see, if you have, these are screenshots from my phone, you can see all these different posts, all right? So let's see if I got examples of some. So I'll post something like this: without baptism you cannot, and I'll just give passages on baptism. Have you been added to Christ Church? Acts 2, 41 and 47, plan of salvation. And really, every single one of these, all we're doing is trying to encourage somebody to open up their Bible and study it for themselves. We're trying to start conversations about the New Testament church, against denominationalism, trying to push people back to the one church you read about in the New Testament. And so we'll post something like this. You can see how many times these get viewed. So these are screenshots from my statistics portion of the app. 200,000, 141,000, that's a post on homosexuality. The more people comment, the higher the post goes in their feed. So when these people are commenting, calling me a bigot or all these things, they don't realize they're actually helping my post. So whenever somebody comments with a hateful thing, I'm like, have at it, because every comment they put, it's just pushing our post higher up in the feeds for people to see it. These are some other posts. This is Mark 16:16, 74,000 people. The plan of salvation, 70,000 people. So you can see that's Acts 22:16, I think there. So you can see these posts are getting viewed by tens of thousands of people. So that's what we're trying to do, is just reach them with the gospel. All right. So let me try to go through in the next 20 minutes. I want to tell you some stories. If you have any questions afterwards, you can come up and ask me. But this is an example of the type of conversations we're trying to facilitate. This person messaged me and said, "Hey, I have a quick question. I've always accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, even as a child. I believe in Jesus and try to repent for my sins almost every day, praying to God. I was baptized as a child, though I was wondering if I have to be baptized again as an adult, now that I have a clearer understanding and a stronger relationship with God." And so we always start off positive. It's always a positive when someone asks you a Bible question, all right? If someone says, "Hey, I was baptized as a child, what do I need to do?" That's a positive, all right? Make sure and you recognize, "Hey, I'm so glad that you came to ask me that question." Don't jump right in and say, "Well, you know that's not scriptural." Is it scriptural? Of course it's not scriptural. But they're actually bringing something to you. They're excited to talk about the Bible. I'm always going to reward that. And so we said, hello, I've blotted out their name. In the Bible, children were not baptized. Only adults who could believe and repent, all right? So we basically then start into a Bible study with each one of these people on here. I'm trying to see if I can follow this. Yeah, this one is one, at the end of here it said, I always ask them, number one, where they live. And the reason I do that is because I'm trying to connect them with a faithful church if there's one anywhere near them. Because I can study with them and they can be baptized, and you'll see some examples of that. But we need to connect them with a local church so that they have a place that they can worship, that they can be discipled, and they can grow. So this person was in the Bronx. I'm not too sure about how I would go about getting baptized or where. I live in the Bronx. And I said, "You don't worry about that. You just tell me where you live. We'll take care of the rest." And so we connected them with a local church in the Bronx. And some of these we hand off, and I'm not sure what happened. We have so many of them that you think, well, Aaron, how can you not follow up on these? There's a whole lot more for us to follow up on than I can really keep track of, to be honest with you. This is another one. We posted Romans 6:4, and they responded, "If I'm not baptized, will I have bad consequences?" All right, went to a Bible study. This one, I was really stressed for time one day, and so I just opened up my Bible, took a picture, posted it, and said, "Here is a short Bible study challenge." I'll say tag 3 of your friends that you can get together, have a cup of coffee, and study these passages together, all right? And so this person responded, "I read through some of this. I was baptized as a child, but never made the decision. I want to now. Does the Bible say I need a priest to baptize me? Can I do it myself? What are the Bible's thoughts on this?" Hello, what a great question. First of all, good for you for reading through the passages. And then we go into a Bible study, all right? You'll be surprised at the questions that you get whenever you're trying to study with people, not just on the internet, but also in person. This one here says, "Do I need a priest to baptize me? Can I do it myself?" I had a guy, I don't have anything on here, but his name was Diallo Blen, and he told me he's from an hour northwest of London. And we were talking about him being baptized. And I said, "Well, let me find a church. Give me your phone number, and I'll have a preacher in London area call you." And he said, "Well, that's probably not going to work." And I said, "Why not?" He said, "Well, can I just baptize myself in the shower?" And I said, no, you can't baptize yourself in the shower. You need someone else to immerse you. But it's no problem. Let me connect you with somebody. And then he said, well, there's going to be a problem. I'm actually in prison. He was in prison and somehow got a cell phone. And I said, Diallo, are you supposed to have a cell phone in prison? He said, it's kind of quiet for a long time. You see the 3 little dots of him typing. He says, well, no. So it was a contraband cell phone. And I said, well, Diallo, I can't illegally communicate with you, even if I am trying to talk to you about how to be baptized. And so we talked with him, said, when you get out, I think it was a drug-related charge, you need to go and find this church here or contact me and we'll connect you with them, all right? So you run into a lot of really interesting stories when you're using these sorts of avenues of communication. Okay, this is the thing that fascinated me the most about it. I knew there were hundreds of thousands of people that were following it, but I didn't know where they were from. And so I was going, I think about a year and a half ago, to speak in Ironton, Alabama at Cliff Goodwin's congregation. And I said, I'm going to go down and tell people, these are people all over the world, and there's going to be probably one person that comes up and says, how do you know, or what countries? Because that would probably be me if I was sitting in the back, the skeptic. And so I said, okay, I'm going to try to find out. So I posted this photo, and I just said, comment with your country, all right? I said, please don't use flags. Guess how many flags I know? 1, the American flag, and inevitably people commented with the picture of their flag, so I didn't count those. But then I did that on a Saturday about 5 p.m. Sunday morning, I got up to count them, 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, and there was 474 comments. And so I started going through with the Microsoft Word document and just typing up each country, all right? And you can see some of the countries. These are screenshots. Pakistan, India, Brazil, U.S., Ethiopia, Moldova, Iran, Russia, India, Saudi Arabia. These are some of the most heavily populated Muslim countries in the world. And also, they're not very friendly to preaching the gospel, all right? If I get off a plane and go street preach there, you know it's probably going to happen to me, all right? Surah 9 from the Quran, probably going to get attacked. So these are places we can reach with the gospel on my phone and through the internet that we'll have a lot more difficult time to do that in person. So this is the list I made. So there's 140 countries. You can read those. The ones that are the number is how dangerous it is on Open Doors' top 50 most dangerous places to preach the gospel. So let's see. Eritrea, I don't even know where that is, but number 6 most dangerous place in the world to preach the gospel. Iraq, number 8. Iran, number 10. And then I don't have the colors up here, but Indonesia has like 200 and some million Muslims, believe it or not. It's actually the most populated Muslim. Say again? Afghanistan. Not up there. So I guess now that doesn't mean that we're not reaching there. This is just a list of people that actively responded to me in about a 24-hour period. So somebody had to type in, this is the country they're from, and hit post. So there may be people from other countries that aren't listed up there. So I don't know if there is Afghanistan or not, but I know that Pakistan is on here. So a lot of those countries that surround it. Okay, so this is some of the other things we do. We'll post something like this, Understanding Baptism, and then I'll do a live video, okay? So after I do the live videos, they delete them after 24 hours. So I screen record them and put them on my YouTube, okay? And then I point everybody there. So we're going to get off that slide so you don't have to look at me. Okay, let me show you some success stories, all right? I did a video on the basics of baptism that most of you could probably do. It wasn't anything special, but it was just, what does the Bible say about baptism? Who, what, when, where, and why? Why do we do it? And so we just went through the New Testament. I just read passages, let people ask questions, right, live. And this is a guy named Chance, all right? Chance has become a really good friend of mine for the last year and a half now. We talk almost every couple days. And we study across the country on the phone. And he sent me this message. This is all, I didn't know who he was. I just knew it was Chance 555. He said, I'm living in LA. Do you know someone that can baptize me? And I said, well, let me get to my office and we'll talk. So we studied for about an hour and a half on the phone. I wanted to make sure he understood what I talked about in the video and he understood what counting the cost was going to cost him as a Christian. He was in Los Angeles, okay? Take a guess at what he was doing in Los Angeles. He was an actor, all right? An actor and a model. You can tell he's a good-looking guy, all right? So he's an actor and a model. And so we studied for an hour and a half, and he says, I'm ready. I want to do this. He was going to a big denominational megachurch in downtown Los Angeles. He said, I want to be baptized. I get it now. They did it immediately. In Acts 16, they did it at midnight. They didn't have a baptism Sunday. And he said, I want you to come baptize me. I'm ready. Come on. And so my sense of humor, I Google mapped my location to Los Angeles. I'm here and he's here. And I sent him a screenshot of that and said, hey, why don't we find somebody else to come baptize you? So it's like a 26-hour trip. And so he said, okay. And so I have a couple different people. The Brotherhood's really well connected, if you probably knew that. But I just said, hey, I need a church that is in the Los Angeles area. So somebody connected me with Jonathan Hinckley. Jonathan drove to downtown Los Angeles and picked up Chance, brought him back, and baptized him into Christ. And so Chance was so excited. This is him greeting all the brethren that came to see him be baptized. And then the next day, I went on Instagram and just did a similar video about baptism and said, Chance obeyed the gospel. He was a member of a denominational church. Denominations, 1 Corinthians 1, verse 10 through 16. They weren't allowed to follow Paul, Apollos, and Cephas. Why would we be able to follow some man-made church? And this guy, Jeff, sent us this. Can you give me the contact information for the church in Temple City that baptized Chance Howard? I'm interested in adult baptism. And so I gave him Jonathan's number. He called Jonathan. And the first thing he asked Jonathan, he is a dentist, Jeff. This is Jeff Manee. He's a cosmetic dentist in Los Angeles. The first question that he asked was, hey, how much are you going to charge me to baptize me? And Jonathan said, what do you mean? So how much money is it going to cost me? And he said, well, I'm not going to charge you any money. But he went to a personal Bible study about counting the cost, and Jeff was baptized into Christ, and this is Chance and Jeff together after Jeff's baptism. This is Cameron. Cameron lived in Atlanta. Same story, did an Instagram live video on baptism. I told anybody, I always say this, and I've yet to get into trouble, but I said, I'll give anyone $1,000 who can show me in the New Testament where somebody waited to be baptized on a baptism Sunday. I'll give you $1,000. Well, Cameron had actually signed up, I think, to be baptized at a church, and so he saw that, and he said, wait a minute. So we studied on the phone for an hour and a half. He was baptized. This is Gwen. She's in Minneapolis. That's the only, I try to get people to send me better pictures of themselves, and that's the best picture she sent me. She only sent me one. But so she sent me a selfie. She was in Minneapolis. We studied on the phone. She was baptized. This is Gabe. Gabe's funny. I'm strapped for time, but I got to tell this story. Gabe sent me a message and said he was lying. He was concerned about lying, which I'm pretty impressed with because a lot of people aren't that concerned about telling lies. And so Gabe, I said, well, let's get on the phone. So we talked on the phone for about an hour. And we talked about lying and about 1 Corinthians 6 and how sins need to be forgiven, the plan of salvation. And he said, okay, I want to be baptized. And he said, but Aaron, I got to tell you. He said, tell the people at the church that I don't look like a church guy. He said, when you see me, I got a couple piercings. I'm thinking he's going to have face tattoos. I mean, like across the forehead, right? And this is Gabe. He looks like a pretty normal guy, doesn't he? But that gave me some insight into the fact that people who don't come to church a lot, they are terrified to walk through those doors. So we're going to have to go out and find them if we want to reach the lost. The lost aren't always just going to walk right through the doors and say, hey, I'm here for you to teach me. All right, we got to be proactive in going out and finding them. This is David Render. David was from Ohio. David, we studied, was baptized. That's David serving on the Lord's table. This is Megan. Megan, we have a 4-minute video. I don't have enough time in an hour to tell you her story, but she was a Division I athlete. I think she played soccer at Oklahoma State. Came down with some disease. They still don't even know what caused it, and she's not getting any better. She's getting worse and worse, but she needed to be baptized. She was in Sedona, Arizona, and she can't even leave her house without this mask. So we tried to arrange for her to be baptized at a building, and she said, I can't go down under the water with my special mask, and I can't take it off. And so the only way that we could baptize her was Jamie and I drove to Sedona. We had to wear special clothes. They had to be washed in special detergents and stuff so we could go in with her and baptize her at her house. But her story, we have a video at GBN. This is Deja. She was in New Jersey. Same thing. Saw a lesson on Instagram, message to be baptized, connected her with the local congregation. This is Kenny. Kenny was another one of the Baptism Sunday guys. I said, if you can show me in the Bible where people waited to be baptized on a Baptism Sunday, like in denominations, I'll give you $1,000. Well, Kenny had just signed up. He called Charles Stanley's church in Atlanta, Georgia, and he said he wanted to be baptized. And they said, well, that's great. We'll put you on our list. You can sign up. And we baptize once a quarter. So the next quarter baptism comes around, you can be baptized. So Kenny then saw the Instagram video and said, well, that's not in the Bible. And so he looked for it, couldn't find it. Luckily, I still have my $1,000. And he called us. We connected him with a brother in Manassas, Virginia, right outside of D.C., which is where Kenny lives, and he was baptized into Christ. That's in the U.S. These are some examples from around the world. All right, 7 minutes. So if anybody knows where this is Indonesia. Okay, this is 8,000 miles away from where we're at right now. And if you zoom in, this is a place called Bandung, right there. So somebody sent us a message. This man, Christian Alvino, he sent us a message on Instagram and said, I always tell people, look, you just tell me where you're at. We'll get a gospel preacher to you. You don't worry about it. You just tell me where you're at if you want to study. So he said, I'm in Indonesia. So I contacted Byron Hatcher, whose dad did missionary work there, who connected a guy named Jacob, who lived in Jakarta. And within 48 hours, Jacob had sent this man named Dedi out to this little village where Christian lived, and they studied the gospel, and Christian was baptized shortly after that. This is in Doha, Qatar. Qatar is a little isthmus that sticks off the Arabian Peninsula. You can see it right there. It's actually a really wealthy area. But this is Jeff Alfonso. He sent us a message. He had actually been watching GBN videos on the internet through YouTube, and he said, I want to study. And so we studied through Facebook Messenger. I think it was 6 p.m. for him and 9 a.m. for me. Yeah, Friday at 9 a.m. we studied. And we connected him with a local. There is a Church of Christ in Doha, Qatar. They have to meet semi-privately. They have to meet behind a guarded gate, and they have a pass. I don't know if it's a password or just something to get through, but Jeff was able to go meet with them, and he was baptized. And then his girlfriend, he shared the gospel with her. He says through GBN videos, but I'm pretty sure he just showed her what the scriptures say, and the local church taught her too. So it's always a joint effort. And God gave the increase, and she was baptized into Christ too. This is in Norway. This one was hard because I had a young couple that messaged me, and there's a picture of them. I'll show it to you, but it's on the bottom of this sheet in the back if you want to grab one. They messaged and said that they had never been baptized as adults. So we studied through Instagram, and they told me they were in Kavansdal, Norway. Let me see how close it is. So they're down here in Norway, all right? So the closest Christian I could find to them was here, Oslo. His name was Thor, all right? So his name's Thor, and I actually called this one. Normally I'll email, I said, I got to hear this guy's voice. And so I called, and I got this call, and I said, hello? I said, is this Thor? He said, yeah, this is Thor. I was so disappointed. I thought it was going to be this big, booming Norwegian guy. But so anyway, Thor connected me with Christians that were the closest Christians to here were over here, 4 hours away. So they actually, to be honest with you, they baptized each other because we couldn't get a Christian to them for a couple days. And then whenever we found Christians, they went and were rebaptized just to be safe. So that's the only time in my life I've ever had people that wanted to be baptized, and I didn't have a Christian anywhere within, thousands of miles. And so finally, they were rebaptized, so now they're good. I don't know how that would work out, but now I know for sure that they're safe. So this is Kavansdal in the summer, if anyone wants to do a short-term mission trip, and this is it in the winter if you want to move there. This is Michael and Henriette. So Woodcock, they have 2 little kids, and that's them there. A couple more. 4 minutes. You know I'm talking fast, but that's what the purpose is, because we've got a lot of stuff I want to get through. This is Zimbabwe. Do you guys remember a couple years ago when there was the big stir in the news where the lion, Cecil the lion, got shot? Anybody remember that? This is actually where this guy Ken is from. So Ken sends us a message. He's in this national park here. He said he wanted to be baptized. He just finished watching the live feed. Thank you for sharing. What I took away was hear the gospel, believe it, repent, and get baptized. So I try to keep everything as plain and simple as I can. And I said, yes, that's right. Where are you from? Zimbabwe. What city? I'm in Hawanji. I said, give me your phone number and email. So he gave me his phone number and email. I talked to Keith Kasarjan, the Bear Valley Bible Institute. They have extension schools in Africa. And within a day, they connected him with this gospel preacher there. And Ken sent me this. I think it was less than 24 hours. Hey, brother, how are you doing? I did get to meet with him. I got baptized this morning. And here's a few pictures of Ken. This is the man that was baptized, Ken, with the gospel preacher there. That's him being baptized in Zimbabwe. I think it's the last one. This is in Malaysia. Kuala Lumpur. Had a woman send us a message. And she said, I am Patricia. I was baptized as a child. I would like to get baptized the right way. It was after another live video. I said, okay, where are you from? Email, phone. John Moore, who's done the Searching for Truth DVDs. John Moore, I knew people in Malaysia. He gave me this congregation. I emailed them. And about 2 or 3 days later, I got this back. So it's an email. This is Brother Ong Boon, met up with Patricia on Wednesday, and etc. They studied, and she was baptized. She was actually from Uganda. Yeah, I think she was actually from Uganda, but she happened to be in Singapore, Kuala Lumpur for work. So she was baptized, obeyed the gospel. We think about on Judgment Day, it's what I think about, is the Lord going to say to me, why didn't you take the gospel into the whole world? I mean, we're commanded to do it, and if God told us to do it, then we can do it, obviously. God wouldn't command us to do something we couldn't do. And you say, well, Lord, how could we take the gospel to the whole world? And he says, well, I gave you the internet. I gave you cell phones, smartphones. I gave you Facebook, Instagram. I don't think the Lord gave us the internet so we can only binge watch Netflix. All right, I don't think that's God's providential purpose was just so we can waste hours. No, I watch Netflix, so if you watch Netflix, I'm not getting on you. But I'm saying we can use the internet for much better things than only entertainment. We can use it to spread the gospel. If you have any questions, I'll be around all day. I'm speaking again tonight. There's free material in the back. As always, we did have somebody that just about a week ago said that they will match up to $25,000 anything in the month of December that basically GBN gets. So, of course, GBN always needs money, all right? The more money we get, the more people we can evangelize, all right? We're not driving around in Ferraris. I got a rental car. But we're trying with every dollar that we have to preach the gospel to the whole world. And so if you like this, if you want to be involved, you guys are already great supporters of GBN. So thank you for what you do. All of these people have come to know the gospel through the work that you all and GBN are doing together. So thank you all so much, and I look forward to being with you the rest of the day.